My 6-year-old looked up from his tablet and said, "Mommy told me to take pictures of your new friend." I froze. He was sitting cross-legged on the carpet, the iPad in his lap. Eyes innocent and bright, like he'd just said something sweet instead of dropping a live grenade in the middle of my living room. "What do you mean, buddy?" I asked, trying to keep my voice from cracking. He shrugged. "Just pictures of her shoes, her hair. Mommy said it was a game." That new friend was Jules, my coworker who came by to return a binder I'd forgotten in the office. We stayed for 15 minutes. We didn't even sit down. And somehow, in that quarter-hour window, my ex-wife turned my son into a surveillance drone. Except Sarah wasn't supposed to know Jules existed. We'd been separated for 8 months. Divorce finalized too. Co-parenting officially. Her days, my weekends. Communication strictly about schedules and pediatricians. We were civil. Almost boringly so. But now I was sweating. Because if Sarah knew about Jules, it meant she'd been digging, or watching, or worse, teaching our son to watch for her. "Did Mommy say anything else?" I asked. She said I'd get a toy if I got good ones." He beamed, then tapped his tablet. Photos popped up. Low-angle shots of Jules' purse, her shoes, her nails, even one where her face was half caught in a blur. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I scrolled back and stopped because there were photos from before Jules came over. Photos of me in the kitchen, on the couch, in my bedroom, taken from weird angles, like through a door or a window, like someone had handed the kid the iPad and said, "Just keep taking pictures when you're with Daddy," like she'd been training him. I stood up and locked the front door out of instinct, suddenly feeling like my house wasn't mine anymore. The walls had ears and eyes. Jules messaged me later that night. "Did your ex just post a story of my license plate?" I clicked the link she sent. There it was. Blurry, yes, but unmistakable. My driveway, her car. The caption? "When Dad's coworker parks overnight." I stared at it numb. That was today. That car had been there for 15 minutes. I called Sarah. She didn't pick up. Instead, she texted, "Maybe you should think about who you bring around our child." I started to type back, then I stopped. Instead, I opened the shared Google Photos folder we'd created for family memories years ago and forgot to shut down. Guess what? It was still active and synced to my son's tablet. All the pictures he took, including the weird ones, had been automatically uploaded to her. She hadn't just asked him to take them. She'd made sure they came to her in real time. I felt sick. I opened the file info. Many were timestamped during dad weekends in my house, at night, sometimes while I was sleeping on the couch. Which meant Sarah had been collecting them for weeks. I was about to call a lawyer when I heard my phone buzz. It was a number I didn't recognize. No caller ID. Voicemail. I pressed play. And I heard my son's voice. "Mommy said I shouldn't tell Daddy about the lady who comes over when he drops me off." A pause, some shuffling, then a second voice. Low, female, familiar. "She's not going to find out. He's clueless. Just get the pictures." It wasn't Jules. It wasn't anyone I knew. But I knew whose house that recording came from. Because the next sound in the voicemail was unmistakable. Sarah's voice saying, "Delete that, sweetie, right now." I didn't sleep that night. Every creak of the floorboards, every shadow outside my window made my skin crawl. My ex had weaponized our son, and now I had a voicemail that proved she wasn't just unstable, she was dangerous. The next morning, I dropped off my son at school as if everything was normal. I hugged him a second longer. watched him disappear into the building with his little shark backpack bouncing behind him. Then I called Luke, Sarah's fiancé. We'd never spoken outside of drop-offs and birthday parties. He was one of those guys who always smiled just a little too wide, like he was trying to sell you something you didn't want. But I had to know, did he have any clue what he was engaged to? He picked up on the third ring. "This is Luke." "Hey, it's Jason, Sarah's ex." Long pause. "Is everything okay with Mason?" "Yeah, he's fine, but I need 5 minutes. Face to face. I'm at work." "Then listen to the voicemail I just forwarded you." Click. I waited. 10 seconds. 15. Then my phone rang again. What the fuck did I just hear? "That's your fiancé coaching our kid to spy. And that voice in the middle? Not hers. Nope. So now the question is, who was she talking to in her heist while my son's there?" We met in the parking lot of the strip mall near his office, standing awkwardly between a yoga studio and a nail salon. Luke looked like he hadn't slept either. His face was pale, clenched. He held up his phone. "That's your kid's voice." "Yes." "And that's not Sarah." "No." He didn't say anything for a full minute, just stared at the ground. Then, "She told me you were the unhinged one, that you were paranoid, controlling." Classic. "She said you cheated." I raised an eyebrow. Projection's a hell of a drug. "She made me install a nanny cam in our guest room. Said it was for Mason." I nodded slowly. "Can I see the footage?" Luke hesitated. "She has the password. I'll try to pull the backup from the SD card." While we waited, I checked the shared photo folder again. A new upload had appeared. It was a blurry picture of my laptop taken from the couch. Zoom in, and you could clearly see an email open. Subject: Weekend Team Building Retreat RSVP. To Julia K. From Jason L. The caption: "So, this is the coworker." She was still feeding off our son's access, still watching, still posting. Luke scrolled his phone. "Wait, you said her voice was in the voicemail, right?" "Yeah." He frowned. "She told me she was in chemo recovery the day that was recorded. I picked up Mason that night." "She said it was chemo?" "Yeah." "Why?" I opened my email and showed him something I didn't plan to share. A selfie Sarah had sent me 2 weeks ago. She wore a headscarf. Hollowed cheeks. Caption: "Still recovering. Can we swap weekends?" Except I'd seen that scarf before. It was in a photo on Mason's tablet, hanging on the bathroom doorknob, right next to her curling iron. Sarah was faking chemo, or exaggerating it. And while Luke stared at the screen slack-jawed, my phone buzzed again. Block number. Another voicemail. I played it. This time it wasn't Mason's voice. It was hers. Sarah. Crying. Rambling. "I know what I did. I had to protect myself. You were already leaving me. I saw it in your dreams. You started dreaming about her before you even knew her. I couldn't let that happen again. I had to get ahead of it." Luke looked at me like I'd hit him. "What does she mean, your dreams?" I shook my head. She always believed people dreamed the truth, said she could feel the shift when my subconscious changed. Luke staggered back a step. "She made me write down my dreams every day." "Dude,
She had a whole journal, called it her truth ledger. If she didn't like what she saw, she'd say I was subconsciously cheating. My stomach flipped. This wasn't just manipulation. This was a delusion. Luke opened his camera roll and found the guest room footage backup. He pressed play, and there she was. Sarah, sitting on the bed in a silky robe, next to a man that wasn't either of us. And then she leaned over and kissed him.
I think my brain short-circuited. I just stood there, phone frozen in my hand, while the video looped again. Sarah leaning in, her lips brushing my brother's, the angle clear as daylight, no mistaking it. His jawline, the birthmark on his neck, the hoodie he wore every time he came over to check on me after the breakup. Luke's voice broke through the static in my head. Is that my brother? I whispered. Colin. The nausea hit like a punch. I staggered to the curb and dry heaved. I'd been so careful, so paranoid, watching for clues, listening for lies, and the whole time the snake wasn't just in the grass, it was at my dinner table. Luke was pacing now, swearing under his breath. Dude, I've been at your house. I've talked to him. He held your kid. Yeah, he held my kid. He took selfies with him, played catch in the yard, and then snuck off to my ex's bed. A siren screamed in the distance, and it jolted me back to reality. I had to call Colin. I needed to hear him lie to my face. I needed the final nail in this coffin. He picked up on the second ring. Yo, what's up? Where are you right now? Work at the office. Lie number 1. It was Saturday. I didn't respond. Everything okay? He asked. Yeah, just wondering if you've seen Sarah lately. A pause, then casual as ever. No, not for a minute. Lie number 2. I ended the call without a word. Luke looked at me. What now? She's crazy, he's a traitor, and I have a burner phone with more evidence than either of them realize. We went straight to my apartment. I dug out the burner, one I'd found stashed behind Mason's bookshelf weeks ago. At the time, I'd assumed it was Sarah's way of secretly contacting Mason without me knowing, but I hadn't opened it. I hadn't wanted to be that guy. Now, I was that guy. The gallery loaded. First photo, a blurry pic of me sleeping. Timestamped 3:47 a.m. Second, a screenshot of a message. He dreams about her again. I can feel it. Third, a selfie of Sarah lying in my bed. I flipped through image after image, each one worse than the last. She was documenting my private life, my routines, my texts, my dreams. But the final image? That's what stopped my breath. It was a photo of Colin outside my building holding Mason's hand. Caption: tell him it's a surprise visit from Uncle. He'll never know what it really means. Luke's mouth dropped open. She sent your kid to distract you while she snuck Colin in. She'd used our son like a decoy. There was no line she wouldn't cross. And just when I thought it couldn't get more twisted, Luke's phone dinged. An airdrop request from Truth Ledger. He accepted instinctively. One file. Audio. I hit play. Sarah's voice, whispering. It was always about control. He had to learn he wasn't the author of the story, that sometimes the villain gets the happy ending. Silence. Then another voice. Collins. Do you think he suspects? A giggle. Not until it's too late.
My blood went cold. The wedding invite? They were getting married? I stared at Luke, who stared right back, mouth slack. "Play it again," he said. I did. And there it was, Colin's voice, low and amused. Wait till he sees the wedding invite. It was like my stomach folded in on itself. My knees gave out and I dropped onto the couch, burner phone clutched like a grenade. Luke was pacing now, hand gripping his jaw. Dude, this isn't just cheating. This is sabotage. It's like they planned this. They used you and Mason. I nodded, barely hearing him. My eyes landed on the corner of the coffee table, an unopened envelope, thick, embossed. I hadn't even registered it when I walked in. I picked it up. White linen stock, gold calligraphy. The name on the front read, Mr. James Darden and family. No. I tore it open, hands shaking. Inside was a wedding invitation. Tasteful, pretentious. You are cordially invited to the union of Sarah M. Reeves and Colin Darden. My brother's full name, my ex's handwriting. The date? 2 weeks from today? The location? My parents' summer house. I couldn't breathe. I dropped the invitation like it burned. Luke looked like he'd just seen a ghost. They sent it to you? That's insane. But it wasn't a mistake. It was a warning, a final twist of the knife. And it worked. I was unraveling. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept picturing Mason, smiling at his Uncle Colin, not knowing the man holding his hand had been holding his mother, too. I got up, walked to the kitchen, poured whiskey. No ice. But the moment I took the first sip, my phone dinged. Another airdrop. This time from a different name. Her eyes only. I accepted. One photo. It was a picture of my front door, taken from the outside, time-stamped 5 minutes ago. I ran to the peephole. No one there. Then I turned and nearly screamed. On the floor, slid under the door, was a small envelope. No name, no markings. I opened it with a steak knife. Inside, a photo. Sarah, naked, in my brother's arms. But it wasn't new. I knew that bedroom. I knew that bedspread. It was my guest room, taken months ago, before we broke up, before they pretended to care. Pinned to the back was a sticky note scrawled in block letters. You think you're watching, but we've been watching you. Luke showed up 10 minutes later, woken by the airdrop I forwarded him. He looked at the photo, the note, then he dropped a bombshell. I think Mason been carrying something, like a device? What kind of device? He pulled out his phone and swiped open an app. I installed an AirTag tracker last year to keep tabs on my dog, but I picked up a stray signal, same ID, near your place, multiple times. Where exactly? He zoomed in. The location pinged from Mason's backpack. Every day he visited me, the tracker came too. That's how they knew. That's how they knew when I left, when I slept, when I was home alone. Luke looked horrified. They bugged their own kid. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part came when I called my mom. Hey, I said, did Colin mention anything about the wedding? Silence. Then, the one next weekend? Next? Oh, honey, you didn't see the update? What update? There was a digital resend. Colin said the paper invites went out with some mix-ups on the names. But the online ones? I was already checking my inbox. Nothing. Not spam, not promotions, not junk, nothing. Colin had sent new invites to everyone except me. He wanted me to see the old one. He wanted me to think I was invited. And now, they'd changed the date, moved it up to this weekend.
I didn't remember walking outside, but I found myself in the middle of the street, barefoot, phone in hand, mouth dry, heart pounding like I'd run a marathon on glass. They moved the wedding up, I told Luke, dazed. It's this Saturday. At your parents' house? I nodded slowly. I'm going, I said. He blinked. To crash it? To end it. Luke grabbed my arm. You sure? This is next level. This isn't just some revenge fantasy anymore. They manipulated your son. They tracked you. They tried to erase you. I know. And I looked him straight in the eye. I'm done being erased. The next 48 hours were a blur. Luke got his tech guy to scan Mason's backpack. We found 2 hidden listening devices and 1 AirTag. One was sewn into the lining of the front pocket with blue thread, Sarah's thread. I removed them, bagged them, labeled everything. Then I printed every burner phone photo I hadn't dared look at until now. Every one of them, time-stamped, geolocated, some even with her holding a glass of wine in my kitchen. There was one of Colin standing by the fridge I bought, flipping pancakes with Mason on his hip. Another of Sarah, topless, holding my son's stuffed dinosaur. They weren't just cheating. They were cosplaying my life. I packed the photos into a leather portfolio. Then I opened my calendar. Saturday, noon. The wedding. Private residence. Guests were told no phones, no press, no drama, but no one told me not to bring proof. Luke dropped me off a block away from the venue. He handed me a black USB drive. All the AirTag logs are on there, just in case. Thanks, I said. You don't have to wait. He smirked. I'm not going anywhere. I want to see how this ends. The house looked like a dream from a distance. White linens over long tables, champagne towers glinting in the sun, florals spilling from wrought iron arches. Picture perfect. Until I stepped onto the graveled path. That's when I saw her, Sarah, in ivory silk, holding Mason's hand, walking down the aisle toward Colin. My knees almost buckled. She was marrying him with our child as the ring bearer. And every single guest looked delighted. I spotted my mother, beaming, my father, nodding proudly. They all knew. They all accepted this. I took a breath, stepped forward, and that's when Mason saw me. He froze mid-step, dropped the ring box, looked up to Sarah, then Colin, then back at me. I held up the portfolio. Sarah's smile cracked. Colin turned. Gasps rippled. Mason ran to me, and threw his arms around my waist. Then he whispered, "She said you didn't want me anymore." My chest caved. I lifted my head, voice cutting through the stunned silence. "I'd like to make a toast." People turned. A bridesmaid whispered, "Is that—" "I'll be quick." After all, I wasn't invited to the real ceremony. Just the decoy one. I walked straight to Colin and handed him a photo. His face went pale. Sarah tried to snatch it. Too late. Then I turned to the crowd holding up the photo of Sarah kissing Colin in my living room, time-stamped 4 months before the divorce. And if anyone wants more, I pulled out the AirTag logs, the burner phone, the hidden mic. I've got receipts. The officiant stepped back. Someone dropped a glass. My mom let out a breathless, "Oh my God." Colin opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Sarah? She didn't even try to deny it. She just hissed, "I told you not to keep that stupid phone." Then Mason, voice trembling, pointed at her and said, "Why did you say Daddy was bad?" Dead silence. I lifted him into my arms and turned to the guests. "You can all stay. Enjoy your brunch or whatever this circus is." I pointed at Sarah, but she doesn't get to rewrite the story.
I didn't walk away. I marched. Past the flowers, past the string quartet, past Sarah's mother openly sobbing, and someone recording on their phone despite the no phones sign. Mason clung to my side like he wasn't sure if I was real. "Is this a dream?" he whispered. I kissed his head. "No, baby. This is the part where we wake up." Behind me, I could hear Sarah calling my name, once, then twice, but I didn't stop. Not until we were at the street corner where Luke was waiting in his car. He stepped out, saw the kid in my arms, and for the first time in hours, smiled. He really did it. I nodded. Then, Sarah's heels clicked down the driveway behind us like a ticking bomb. She looked unhinged, veil half off, makeup melting, bouquet long gone.
"You're going to regret this," she spat. "You humiliated me in front of everyone." "Correction," I said, calmly. "You humiliated yourself. I just narrated it." Luke cleared his throat. "And we backed up the entire burner phone gallery to the cloud, by the way, just in case." Her eyes darted between us. "None of this was your business, Luke." He smirked. "Actually, it became mine the second you trespassed on my Wi-Fi and pinged 3 AirTags from my living room." Sarah went pale. I turned to her. "You used our son. You drugged him with lies. And you think I'm the villain?" "It wasn't like that," she shouted. "Colin loves him. We love him. He's not a prop, Sarah." Then her voice dropped into a venomous hiss. "Okay, fine. You want to play hardball? Let's go. Because I'll fight for custody, and I will win. I'm already the stable parent. Colin has a house. You live above a bar with your tech rebound." She gestured at Luke like he was gum on her shoe. I felt something inside me snap, quietly, cleanly, like a string pulled too tight for too long. "That's what you think?" I asked. She folded her arms. "It's what the court will think." I glanced at Luke. Then I pulled out my phone and hit play. A familiar voice echoed from the speaker. Sarah's. From a month ago. She'll never find out. She's too busy chasing her tail. Honestly, I don't even think she cares about him anymore. Sarah's jaw dropped. I kept playing. Besides, even if she does catch on, Colin's already got the lawyer. It's a clean sweep. We get the kid, the house, the narrative. She disappears. I stopped the recording. Luke raised an eyebrow. "That's the one from the kitchen, right?" "Yep. Pet cam audio, time-stamped, synced, legally obtained." Sarah's face crumpled like wet tissue. "That was you," I said. "Unfiltered, unedited, and you just gave me motive and character in front of half the city. You wouldn't dare." I held her gaze. Then I said the line that broke her. "You're not even the protagonist in your own lie anymore." She took a shaky step back, mouth opening, but Mason tugged my sleeve. "Can we go home?" That's when I saw Colin walking toward us. Not running, walking. In his tux. Looking like a man who had finally realized he'd just walked naked onto a stage mid-performance. He didn't even look at Sarah. Just straight at me. "I didn't know about the AirTags or the mic." "That's your defense?" I asked. "That she masterminded it all?" "I mean, mostly. Good luck with that in court." He scratched the back of his neck. "You're gonna drag us to court?" I leaned in close, enough for him to smell the venom I've been bottling for months. "No," I said. "I'm gonna let you two drag yourselves." Then I handed him a manila envelope. Custody filing. Emergency hearing. Monday morning. He opened it, scanned the papers, and swore under his breath. Sarah backed away, face pale and blotchy, veil fluttering behind her like a ghost. And just before she turned, I said, "You should have confessed during my therapy session, not his." She froze. "How?" I said, "You talk in your sleep. And lucky me, burner phones record dreams too."
You know how therapists say the truth always comes out? Mine never did. It erupted. Monday morning, I walked into family court holding Mason's hand in one and a flash drive in the other. Luke sat behind me, calm, silent, the tech guy who knew just when to speak and when to let silence do the talking. Across the aisle, Sarah sat stiff, face powdered like she was filming a soap opera. Colin looked hungover and betrayed, which, frankly, suited him perfectly. My lawyer uploaded the final piece, the secret recording from my couch. Mason had fallen to sleep on my lap that night. Sarah dropped him off, pretending to be magnanimous after the wedding disaster. She wore a fake smile like lipstick. But the moment she thought the house was asleep, she cracked. I had the pet cam angled just right, and the mic picked up everything. "I should have just left her name on the lease," she whispered to Colin over speakerphone. "Then none of this burner phone shit would have been necessary." "What lease?" the judge asked. My lawyer smiled. "She means my apartment, the one she forged my signature on, the one she tried to claim abandonment on." Gasps, even from the back row. I glanced at Sarah. She shrunk into herself. Then the video cut to something worse. Colin's voice from a burner call. "If you want me to keep doing this, I need to know the kid's mine. Otherwise, what's the fucking point?" He said it casually, like we were ordering coffee, like my son was a negotiable asset. I didn't cry. I didn't even flinch. But the judge did. They leaned forward. "You ran a paternity test?" I nodded. "He's mine. 100% biologically," the lab confirmed. But Colin never asked permission. He swabbed Mason's cheek while pretending to hug him goodbye. I only found out because he dropped the receipt on my porch. Colin buried his head in his hands. Sarah just stared at the wall like she could rewrite it with her mind. The ruling came fast. I got full physical custody, supervised visitation only, with neither Sarah nor Colin allowed in the same room unless court approved. And Mason finally started sleeping through the night again. But it didn't end there. Because remember the dream I kept having? The one where Mason pointed at the wrong man in the photo? It never made sense. Until I found the photos on the second burner phone. Not the one from the wedding. The one Luke found hidden inside one of Mason's toys during a routine clean. It had been recording. Not just photos, videos. Clips of Sarah and Colin coaching Mason. "Say this when she asks. Don't tell her we were at the beach. Pretend it was just a hug." Brainwashing. On tape. In one, Mason even asks, "Why can't I just stay with the mom?" And Sarah, calm, venomous, soft as silk, says, "Because she doesn't love you like we do." That was the line that broke me. I didn't release the footage to the court. I didn't need to. I released it online. It took 48 hours to go viral. The hashtags trended faster than we could track. Hashtag #SpyMom. Hashtag #BurnerParents. Hashtag Dream Told Me. Hashtag He Lied. I Filmed. The comments poured in. "She used the kid like a pawn." Colin looks like every gaslighter who's ever said, "You're overreacting." I saw her in my dreams too. Run, sis. Sarah's social media was wiped clean within a day. Colin's firm quietly let him go for unrelated reasons. Their wedding footage? Memed to death. But the overlay text people love the most? The one I used in the video thumbnail? "He lied. I filmed." Because sometimes poetic justice isn't about fire or fury. Sometimes it's about pressing play at just the right moment. Mason's now in therapy, real therapy, with someone who doesn't leak dreams for manipulation. And me? I sleep better. I dreamed cleaner. I don't need to gaslight myself anymore. Because when the truth walks in wearing a child's voice and a burner phone's clarity, you don't doubt it. You hit record and let the whole world listen.